Moving on from the Tigers, we move to the Tigers as a Stefano Utoikamanu has come out and said that he's willing to waive a clause that says that he's a free agent at the end of 2024 if they don't play finals football, as long as
they won't. They won't play finals football.
Well, I think it's a big statement that says, shouldn't he come out and say we're going to play finals football anyways? But if we don't, the fact that he's come out and said this says to me, one, he's sick and tired of this club. Two, he doesn't think they're playing finals football. And three, I got to say straight off the bat, this is a weird clause. And I don't think any other player in the competition would have this, especially at any other well-run club. What do you think about this bloke coming out and saying this? I know why he did, because he came out and said, I'm sick of the leaks, because the fact that we know this clause is in there, Terry, is only because of a leak. That's pretty embarrassing. But, this is a young guy who's come out. He obviously loves the club, and he's willing to stick through them through some negative times. It's just Tigers.
Yeah, you'd be surprised at some of the clauses that are in contracts. So you only have to remember back to 2010 when we got stung with the Blake Ferguson has a get-out clause if Ricky Stewart isn't the coach, and no one at Cronulla knew about it, and they sacked Ricky Stewart at Blake Ferguson. Well, I'm going to Canberra. Nothing you can do about it, right? There are clauses in there about, if you don't play a certain amount of games, you can activate yourself and become a free agent. Or, there's so many different clauses. So a top 8 clause is probably not unusual for teams that go and sign with fringe players. Like, just use Newcastle, for example, who are always a fringe top 8 team, right? They're either, bottom 8 or, bottom half of the top 8 or just outside of the top 8, right? So you'd probably find that players get contracts with them and say, if we don't play finals 2 years in a row, I'm out. Okay? And then it's just made by the Knights trying to go, you're going to activate that clause. Okay, we'll just put it out in the paper and said that we've allowed you to move on because you're not happy. So, but I think Utoikamanu handled the media side of it 75% perfect when he turned around and said, I don't want to activate this clause. Don't worry about it. But what we need to stop are the leaks in the club because no one should have known about this apart from myself and the Tigers. And I think that was a very, very mature response. But the fact that he's coming out to address that says that he isn't confident that the Tigers are going to play finals football in 2024. And he's probably got his eyes, on some clubs that may have some money. And he's probably said to his agent, hey, while I'm not allowed to speak to any of these clubs, wink, wink, just put some feelers out there when you're having chats about this guy here, turn around and go, oh, yeah, well, the Tigers are in the bottom 4. They're not going to play next year. You got any money for Steph? You never know. That's probably what's happening there. So I don't think it's a strange clause. And I think you'll find that there'll be, so many clauses in NRL contracts these days that thousands of players have got a clause like this in there. But I just think that the timing of it, that's what's strange to me. The season's just finished. You've just come last and you're coming out going, don't worry about it if we don't make finals next year, because that's you just straight up saying we're not playing finals next year.
Yeah, and look, you and I are in agreement with Stefano. I don't think they are. This is a bloke that's coming off an Origin, bit of a shock decision, but,
undeserved Origin selection, by the way.
Yeah, he didn't let anyone down, to be honest, and I think he's got some Origins in his future. This is a kid that the Tigers need to build around. So unless they've specifically gone to him and said, "Oi, we need you to say this," I don't see why it came up. You're probably right. Maybe he's got his eyes elsewhere and he's sort of saying, "Oh, I've got a clause that's in there next year, but I'm not going to use it." Potentially, who knows what's going on with these players and more specifically the agents. But it's just another day, another leak at the Tigers. And I know there's some infighting and the majority owner of the club wants the CEO out. And there's talk that the CEO will take the $1 million sponsorship. I don't know if there's any truth to that. It's been suggested. I'm certainly not suggesting that's a fact because straight up don't know. But for a club to be in a position where a bloke can do that just says to me, Terry, you and I need to go in, gut that club and fix it up because I don't think we could do any worse than this current lot. And my God, if they lose a player like Utoikamanu, I know he said what he said, but we've heard players say much more serious things and then backtrack as soon as some dollars hit the account or get waived in the past. If they lose a player of his talents, oh, my word.
I mean, 12 months ago, Selwyn Cobbo was on a podcast saying that Kevin Walters can't coach. 12 months later, they're in a grand final, right? So I sometimes I just think that the players either don't have the education or the training or whatever, or they know what they want to say in their head, but they just don't articulate it. And as I said, I don't think Utoikamanu said anything out of tune. Like, he didn't turn around and say that the Tigers are a terrible club and he can't wait to get out of there. He said, don't worry about this clause. I'm not activating it at the moment. But the fact that he's even talking about it, there is a suggestion he doesn't believe that they're going to make the finals in 2024. Much like you and I don't believe it, much like 90% of the rugby league world don't believe that the finals are going to be, the Tigers are going to be playing finals anytime soon. So I think he did, like, for a young kid, remember, he's 20 years old and, you know, he looks really, really shy getting in front of the camera. But I think, I get what he wanted to say. He just didn't articulate it properly.
Yeah, certainly not the worst thing that'll happen to the Tigers this week.